I'm Tanya Brannigan, The Guardian's China correspondent, and at the start of The Guardian's China Week, I'm here to discuss how its economy is faring, with two experts in the field. We're in the middle of a global economic crisis. China's seen its growth rate plummet this year, and yet it's still growing while many other major economies are in recession. So just how bad is it for China?
Compared with most other places, and China has had a fairly strong rebound, and largely because of the very strong and very fast stimulus plan from the Chinese government, and which led to an increase in investment spending significantly.
Estimates of China's growth this year vary wildly, so I wonder what figure you think we might see.
We keep telling our clients the same story, that our same estimate, which is about 7 to 8% of this year and next.
This year potentially likely to be 8%. That's what the government is targeting. But going forward, I think once the stimulus package runs out, and if consumer spending doesn't replaces the spending that's waning off of the government investment, we may see a second sort of going down in the growth rate.
We've seen exports tumble for 6 months in a row now. Is that just due to the crisis, or are there other reasons behind that?
There's also a long-term trend. The long-term trend has been that in China, the cost of exporting has been increasing significantly. And part of that comes from yuan appreciation, but that's not the full story. The large part of the story is the increasing in wage rate. Longer term, I think it's important to realize that the demand in the United States may not come back to the height that we experienced before. And so, and I think it's very important that the Chinese policymakers realize that and start thinking how they can restructure the economy so that investment demand will be replaced by consumer demand.
For most outsider observers, they think that China is mainly export-driven economy. It's not like that. China is mainly a domestic-driven economy, because real estate, property sector is actually play a very, very significant role in the last several years' development.
Do you expect China to return to a double-digit rate of growth in the foreseeable future, and would that be a good thing?
I think one of the problems in China remains finding enough jobs for people, and I think a large portion of the people who live in the countryside are still underemployed. Until China exhausts those idle laborers, Chinese growth rate will be probably the highest in the world, and I think anything below that would create conditions where college graduates won't be able to find jobs, and I think that's a tremendous amount of social pressure on the government.
I'm a little disagree with Professor Lee. I don't think that double-digit GDP growth is a good thing for China, because we pay a lot of cost on that, resource cost and the environmental impact like that. We think that probably 8% or 7% would be good for China.
Recently, we've seen suggestions that China is actually so well placed economically that it could be saving the rest of the world. How feasible do you think that is?
I think that Wen Jiabao has said China will save itself, but it's not likely to save the world.
Is the crisis an opportunity for China in some ways? Are Chinese firms using it to buy up resources or even companies overseas?
I think it's a good thing, because Western companies, they're in trouble, they need money, and the Chinese companies, they have money, so that's a totally market thing, right? So I think if most of Westerners, they're worrying is because Chinese companies mainly, the large companies are state-owned, that's their concern. But I think that large SOEs actually, they are quite commercialized.
Definitely, economically, there's a lot of benefits for having white knights come to rescue companies that are in trouble, have too much debt. But there are always this concern, and if it's a UK company rescuing a US company, and people will not raise a lot of questions. But if it's a Chinese company rescuing an American or UK company, there obviously would be questions regarding and things that we might not even think about with other cases. And some of that is concerns with state ownership. But I hope it's not because the white knight is not white.
Professor Lee, Ms. Yao, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.